Bombing, episode 116.
Oh, that does look good. Yeah, it's a nice little charcuterie board for the podcast.
Oh, that's so kind of you, Brian.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Look how good that looks, folks.
Absolutely.
Oh, my gosh. Folks, welcome to episode 116 of Bombing Podcast with very special guest, Brian Wiora.
Happy to be on.
Thanks for being here, bro. Thanks for the charcuterie board.
Of course.
Looks good.
I was telling Hayden that I'm from the South, so I come bearing gifts, mostly food, whenever I'm invited.
Now
somewhere.
you were explaining this cheese to me. What's this cheese?
Oh, right. Okay, we've got a special treat for the audience here. Ryan Jennings has never had brie cheese before.
No, I haven't.
It's a soft cheese.
Okay.
It goes well on a cracker or by itself.
What do you think?
That's all right, yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of brie cheese.
That's pretty good.
How would you describe the taste to your audience?
It's like cheese. It's tastes good. It's
It's like cheese and it tastes good. That's all you can muster.
Okay, look, I'm not a food reviewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've never had a charcuterie board in my life.
But,
yeah, me neither. This is by far the classiest podcast that we've ever done. Thank you for bringing the food, by the way.
Of course.
Every other guest that we have, they don't bring shit.
No, one's ever brought anything.
No.
Oh, you know what? I just took too big of a bite and it grossed me out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's
That's
got a very bitter taste
Yeah.
to it, which is why it goes well with like an olive or one of the cured meats here as well.
Too big of a bite that's too much. That's too much brie cheese in my mouth.
Yeah.
I went through a period in college where I was snacking on brie cheese and and baguettes, like slightly toasted baguettes.
Mm-hmm.
I would just snack on that all day. I got real fat. I had to stop.
We used to do that toasted baguette with dip it in olive oil and put like salt and pepper on it, right?
Yes, yeah.
That was so
yeah,
good.
that rules. That does rule.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
That's good. I don't know what that is.
It's one of the various cured meats that came in the charcuterie pack that I bought at Ralph's. You can get Ralph's to sponsor this podcast. You got to go for a big name sponsor.
I'd rather it be Kroger.
Yeah, for real.
Or there's a grocery store in the South from Dallas. There's a grocery store called Tom Thumb. Do you know what Tom Thumb?
I do
Yeah,
not.
I know what Tom Thumb is.
Yeah. I grew up next to a Tom Thumb.
Okay.
And it's like any other grocery store, but for some reason they only have it in. I've only seen it in Texas, and then Harris Teeter.
I know Harris Teeter.
Mm-hmm.
They may have that in like the Mid-Atlantic.
Didn't they
though.
close? I remember a Harris Teeter in Tennessee.
No, they closed the Harris Teeter by where we used to live in Nashville. They shut it down and tore down that whole building. Harris Teeter rules. I'll tell you, the best grocery chain of all time. Erewhon can suck this grocery chain's dick, dude. Is Publix.
I love Publix.
Publix is good.
You fuck with Publix?
Publix is good, of course. Yeah.
Publix is up there.
Yeah.
I like a Publix. I like a Kroger. Remember Piggly Wiggly?
Piggly Wiggly. Yeah, I know Piggly Wiggly.
That's real trash.
That's really bad.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. If you're near a whoa, what about a Winn-Dixie?
Winn-Dixie, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh.
That's what we had.
There are a lot of stores that stores I would say south of the Mason-Dixon. Am I allowed to say Mason-Dixon?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that
I'll bleep
still?
it.
Is that
Maybe I bleep that out. But
Look, you saw that flag when you walked in. Everything goes here.
So I think they're just like a series of stores that are named after almost fable characters, right? Or like Winn-Dixie,
Yeah.
Tom Thumb, Piggly Wiggly.
Mm-hmm.
There's something quite charming. It's like they're not like these characters from movies. They're like characters from old Southern stories
Yeah.
and fables and things like that. Yeah.
You should be able to go shop at a Paul Bunyan or something like that.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, there's something to that.
Yeah.
You grew up in Texas?
I did.
In Dallas?
Dallas, yeah.
Dallas? I was born in Dallas.
Were you?
Yeah, I was born in Dallas. And then like a month and a half later, we moved to Nashville.
Do you know where in Dallas you were born?
No.
Okay.
And I definitely would not say that on camera.
Wait, why?
Because I don't want people knowing where I was born.
What are they going to go do? Stalk the hospital?
They might. if this podcast blows up.
Yeah, but aren't they more likely to stalk you now than the hospital you were born in?
It depends on how crazy the fan is.
Wouldn't you actually rather them, if you had a stalker, wouldn't you actually rather them go to, like, landmarks of your life as opposed to where you are now?
No,
like,
I want
as opposed to, like, the Boulevard or Badger and Jam or something?
I want no one to follow my life. I want everyone to leave me alone and don't go to places I've been. That's weird.
Oh,
Hold
this
on, Ryan. You realize that the profession that you chose with stand-up comedy it entails people following you.
What?
Yes.
I got into stand-up because I wanted to be left alone.
All right. Jeez,
Isn't that? Well, whatever. I'll figure that out later. But how long were you in Dallas?
I was in Dallas the first 18 years of my life.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I go and visit. I still have family there and whatnot. I visit there.
Did you like Dallas? You like Texas?
You know, it was interesting. As a kid, I really don't think I did. It's very suburban where I'm from. I lived in a suburb of Dallas called Addison, which actually has a great comedy club there, the Addison Improv.
Yeah, I hear comics bring that up a lot on podcasts. Yeah, I never
the Addison
been.
Improv is great. But you know, the history of Dallas is interesting because it's a what I call like a plastic city.
Okay.
You know,
A plastic city.
A plastic city,
what's
and
that mean?
it was sort of manufactured all of the sudden. You know,
All right.
in the '60s, Dallas existed, but it was a very small town.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the 80s rolled around, it was one of the biggest cities in the state. And the reason why is because all this oil money kind of just all of a sudden showed up there. And, you know, so there are a lot of things to do there. I mean, the big thing there is sports. I mean, you got 4 major sports. Are you guys sports fans, by the way?
Yeah.
Just one hockey team. That's it.
Predators?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
Right.
I don't even follow other hockey teams.
Yeah.
I'm a Titans fan.
Oh, are you?
I love it when football season comes around.
I'm a huge football fan.
Yeah.
Can't stand football.
So are you a Cowboys?
Huge Cowboys fan. Unfortunately, huge Cowboys fan.
You were born just too late, dude.
Yeah.
You just missed their good run.
That's true. I was born in 1994. And that was basically when I was like, I think I've calculated this. I think I was 586 days old the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl.
Jesus.
Damn.
And, of course, no memory of that. And then subsequently they've not been bad. That's the unfortunate thing about the Cowboys.
That's more
It'd be
frustrating.
worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be worse. They've been good, but not good enough, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's been frustrating, but there's always this pressure, and there are all the media talks, sports media talks about and stuff like that, you know.
What do you think of Jerry Jones? Love him or hate him?
You know, I can't believe this is what we're talking about on podcast. I got
On the comedy podcast?
how much time do we have to talk about Jerry Jones? so you know, Jerry, I think, realized he was past his prime in like 2014. That's when he handed off control to his son, Steven. And Steven Jones has been one of the worst things to happen in my life.
Man.
Steven has been so obsessed. All he cares about is jersey sales and, you know, like basic, you know, keeping the machine running.
Because the Cowboys, they're the most valuable franchise in the NFL, right?
Yeah, they're more valuable than several countries' GDP, you know?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And but Jerry wants to be aggressive with the team in order to win a Super Bowl because I think he realizes he's towards the end of his life. Steven doesn't care. Steven's in his 50s. Steven would rather the Cowboys be consistently good than great one year and then ever risk them being bad.
Oh, okay.
So he constructs the roster and thinks about things always for 5 years in the future as opposed to the day, which is just not how you win.
So does Jerry Jones have any like direct input into the Cowboys
For
at all?
sure.
Or-
Yeah, Jerry's still the general manager of the team, but it's kind of in name only. I think Steven runs a lot of the day-to-day stuff.
Okay.
Steven Jones, by the way, interesting thing. He's the eldest son, and his younger brother is named Jerry Jones Jr. Have you ever heard of that?
That's really strange.
The younger brother being the junior?
They skipped over the first guy?
Yeah, they immediately, when Steven was born, they're like, no, this isn't it.
Jeez, man.
You know what
isn't the
probably
one.
happened? He probably wanted to name the first son Jerry Jones Jr., and his wife was like, we're not doing that. So they named it fucking Chad or whatever his name is. Steven. And then he was like, okay, now we got to do it. If we're having another one, it's going to be Jerry Jones Jr.
Right.
The wife probably didn't want that to happen.
I don't know what Charlotte wanted.
You know her name.
I was going to say that's crazy.
I know. Well, look, when I like something, I love it and I'm obsessed with it. This is what's happened to me in comedy, you know. But yeah, no, I am a big fan of hers actually. Charlotte Jones, I'd love for her to run the team because I think she knows a lot about football, and I think she's a very smart businesswoman. I'm a big Charlotte Jones fan.
Could you imagine naming your son your name, Junior?
Yeah, I could.
Yes?
Yeah.
Brian Wiora Jr.
Yeah, well, it would be Brian Jr.
Brian Jr.
It would be weird. Brian Wiora Jr. Wiora.
I guess that would be weird.
That would be strange.
Brian Jr.
I could see my son being Brian Jr.
I would
yes.
never name my kid. You got to give your kid their own name. I think.
Well, they could go by their middle name.
Yeah, but then why? Just give them a name.
Okay.
Right?
What would be weirder is like if your name was Chris, naming your son like Ben Jr. You just skip over the whole thing.
Just another junior. Yeah.
Junior to what? Who cares?
Yeah.
Name your son like Donald Trump Jr. It's like that's
Luke Skywalker Jr. What the fuck?
God damn it! You just playing games with my life, I guess.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
Would that be hyphenated? Luke Skywalker Jr.
It would be Luke Skywalker Vader would be hyphenated.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because they want to share the
Right.
last name. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Did you do stand up in Dallas or no?
No, I've never done stand up in Dallas.
So 18, you move out where?
I went to college. I've lived in 8 cities over the past 10 years.
Jesus.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. Really, my whole life up to the past year was involved in school.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I've been outside of school since the Clinton administration.
Wow.
Yeah, I went obviously straight through school, grade school, high school to college, and then from college I got my master's degree. And
You have a
then-
master's degree?
I do.
In
yeah.
what?
Creative writing.
Word.
And then I was teaching at a variety of universities for a while, and then was getting my PhD, and then dropped out of that, moved here, and pretty soon after that I started stand-up comedy.
So you're not in school anymore. How long have you been in stand-up?
I'm just about to enter my 6th month in
Fuck
stand-up
yeah.
comedy.
That's really, I didn't know you were only 6 months in.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, I'm not even 6 months in.
Wait, so that means where did we meet?
Probably at the Boulevard.
Probably at Boulevard?
Yeah. Probably when I just started stand-up.
Yeah, that had to have been your first or second time ever.
Yeah.
Where was your first time?
My first show ever?
Your first going on stage and being funny. Or trying.
Oh, being funny.
Well, yeah.
That's a whole...
That hasn't happened yet. But
Going, yeah. We're still waiting for that.
when was your first mic ever?
My first mic was at Comedy Boulevard.
At Boulevard?
So I want to talk about my introduction to stand up.
Yeah.
Though a little bit because I think it's different than a lot of people's.
Okay.
For those of you on this that are frequent listeners to this podcast that don't know me, I'm an alcoholic, and when I was in this PhD program, I was at the University of Denver.
Yeah.
The drinking was really out of control. And I talk about it very openly as a part of my recovery. Actually, today I am 14 months sober.
Good job.
Which is cool.
Congratulations.
So I kept, I went to rehab in February of 2023, came out. And then when you drink out of rehab, like the drinking gets much worse. It's like realizing you're in the Matrix, And so I kept getting hospitalized. I was hospitalized 6 times in 3 months. Jesus. And it was really unsustainable. And I've talked a lot about this. I've actually talked about it on stage too. But the last time I drank alcohol, I drank 3 handles of vodka in 5 days.
Buddy.
And I didn't
Jesus.
eat. Actually, my favorite person I've ever told that story to is Nick Tenaglia.
Yeah.
Because friend of the pod. Are we okay?
Friend,
saying
yeah, he's not been on, but friend,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, friend of the pod.
How
yeah.
dare you set us up like that?
You can edit whatever you want out of this. This isn't a live stream.
No, we know him. He's very funny.
I told that story to Nick Tenaglia. I said, 3 handles of vodka in 5 days, and he goes, "That's too much." That's too much.
Perfect reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have done that. Jesus.
And
That's
it was that time in my life too. I was drinking the hand sanitizer, which I've talked about on stage and stuff like that. But
Just straight. You wouldn't mix it.
yeah,
I actually want to ask about the hand sanitizer. So, like, what's the what's like the proper mixture? Like what
Right.
what is it about the hand sanitizer that makes you go like, I'm gonna chug this?
Yeah. So what it's about is this. So, I'd have a night of drinking, you know, where it was an insane amount. My tolerance was so high at that point, you know, and I was drinking throughout the day too. So like it'd be like if your pregame was like 20 drinks and then you go into a night of heavy drinking. You
Jesus.
know? I think around like April and May of 2023, it was up to like 40 drinks a day pretty regularly.
That's too much.
How were you as a drunk? Were you sloppy? Did you get mean?
Yeah.
Or did you just fucking blacked out and fell over?
Yeah. So I had to be a very systematic, organized, and precise drunk.
Okay.
Because I was a PhD student. So I was taking classes, I was teaching classes, I was grading papers, I was making presentations constantly.
Did you ever teach drunk?
All the time.
Oh my God.
All the time, of course.
How fun were those lectures though?
Awful.
Oh, never
because
mind.
I couldn't let on, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd have to give there were times, and I want to get back to your handstand. There's so many questions.
We'll circle back. This is a big topic. We'll
Yeah,
circle
yeah,
back.
It'll all be covered.
Yeah.
So, yeah, teaching drunk wasn't fun because, I mean, it was fun at first. Like anything, it's fun at first, right?
Sure.
But then eventually, and I was drinking so much, it was ridiculous to try to do anything drunk. But I would go to class and I'd carry around a breathalyzer with me. And the reason why is because I had this like magical number that I wanted to keep my BAC at all times, 0.12. Man. In honor of the 12 steps, I was like 0.12 is what I wanted to keep my BAC. There was a whole month and a half of my life I couldn't legally drive a car.
Have you said that on
point.
stage?
What?
0.12?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't heard it. That's funny.
I haven't heard that. That's really
very
good.
funny.
Yeah. So I because, and then what happened though is as my body processed alcohol really quickly because my tolerance was so high. And so what was happening was my BAC would drop too low and I'd start shaking, and sweating and stuff like that. So I'd have to give a bathroom break. Or if I was in class as a student, I'd take a bathroom break and I'd go and I'd carry around the little airplane bottles in my pocket as well. A lot of things in my pockets.
Sure.
And I'd take one of those shots. And sometimes I carry around also mouthwash, the little travel size mouthwashes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to smell like it.
Yep.
But I was also drinking mouthwash at the time too.
God.
So I had to make sure not to swallow it. So look, if you want to become a severe alcoholic and like the high functioning alcoholic, like you can, my only advice to you is like, you have to be very systematic about it. It's got to be it's very exhausting. You don't have time for anything else, like if you want to do that and have like a girlfriend, no.
Yeah.
Like you got it because you're dating alcohol, I was dating alcohol for a very long time and was in a very abusive relationship with it.
Did alcohol always win?
Yeah, I mean, people think they're like, oh man, you abused alcohol. I'm like, no, alcohol abused me. That was what I really was like, just a total slave to it, And then I'd wake up with a black eye and be like, oh no, this was my fault. It was my fault, that I had the black eye.
So you were legit off the rails.
Yeah, and
Uncontrollable.
It was out of control. The hand sanitizer thing, to circle back to that. So sometimes I'd wake up, it'd be like 5 a.m. All the liquor stores are closed and I'm withdrawing, So I need something with alcohol to get me to 7 a.m. because at 7 a.m. there was a liquor store across the street that opened. So it was never for pleasure. It was always just to stop withdrawal, because alcohol withdrawals, especially at that severe, are brutal. You're shaking uncontrollably. Your mind is crazy. You're hallucinating stuff that's not there.
Well, that can kill you too, right?
Yeah.
Like
a third of people who die from alcohol-related deaths die of withdrawal. They die of not enough alcohol. And I serve now. What I do now, I'm a recover. I sort of serve as a recovery mentor, and I'm a licensed recovery specialist.
Nice.
And a lot of families come up to me, and they say, like, "Hey, my son or my daughter, they're drinking so much. What should I do?" I'm like, well, don't tell them to stop drinking. Don't tell them that, because they're not going to listen, first of all. And number two, if they're drinking as heavily as I was, stopping drinking could kill them.
Yeah.
Alcohol and benzodiazepines are the only two drugs where the withdrawals will kill you. Withdrawals from heroin suck. Withdrawals from meth suck. Withdrawals from crack suck. None of that kills you. Alcohol will kill you. And alcohol and benzos, by the way, two things that you can get legally or used often, right? Xanax.
Yep.
So, yeah, the hand sanitizer thing was never about, oh, I think this would be fun.
It was because you were in like a time crunch.
Right.
You were racing against the clock.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild. Dude.
Yeah.
What does hand sanitizer taste like?
Oh, it's as bad as it. You ever smell it?
I don't even like the smell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, man.
But it was tough, actually. Like, very early on in recovery, I would, find some and I'd do it and I'd just smell it, and I'd be like, oh my God.
Would it take you back?
Yeah, for sure.
Was there a rock bottom, or was there
Yeah.
multiple rock bottoms that you
There were so many rock bottoms.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I think for a lot of people would have stopped them.
Mm-hmm.
I lost relationships. I lost friendships. I lost. I mean, when you end up getting hospitalized, it's tough. And what my life had become at that point too was like, I'd just be like, okay, I had a class on Friday afternoons that lasted until 3 p.m. And I'd be drinking throughout the week. And I remember thinking, if I can just make it to 3 p.m., I can go to the hospital.
Jeez.
And I was so excited to go to the hospital. I'd start crying because I'd be like, oh, I can finally go and safely withdraw. But in a hospital, they won't take you unless your BAC is either 0 or at a 0.3 or above.
Oh, God.
And so
0.3, isn't that dead?
0.4 is legally dead.
Oh my God.
0.3 is very drunk. Yeah. But those are the BACs they'll keep you at. And so I'd go home after my 3 o'clock class and my BAC would be at 0.08 or 0.09 or whatever. So I have to drink to get to 0.3 so that I could go to the hospital.
Oh my God.
And so I'd just be I'd be crying as I drink. I'd be like, I just need to get drunk. And then, of course, you start bargaining with yourself. Like, no, this is fun. This is like when you would go out in your early 20s, and hang out with friends. That's what this is, And
Except you're alone in an apartment.
And alone in a house in the middle, in Denver, and no one wants to talk with you and all that. Anyways, but I'd get up to that 0.3. And I had to get above 0.3 because by the time it took me to Uber to the hospital, I didn't want my BAC to drop too much. So I had to get to a 0.33 or 0.34 to get so that I knew by the time I was admitted to the hospital.
Yeah.
And if there's a waiting room for the hospital, I'm screwed. Because by the time they take my BAC, I'm down to a 0.28. They're going to tell me to go to a detox facility.
So you had to front load booze into your system just to get over
and
there.
I couldn't have. Well, the thing is, why people ask me, why didn't you go to detox? And it's like, the reason I didn't go to a detox center is because they would have kept me too long because I had to be back at school on Monday.
I got you. So
I
you just crawled into that hospital hammered?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then I'd withdraw and safely withdraw, and they'd keep me there for a day or 2 days, and then they'd tell me go to detox, go to rehab, and say, no, it was just a bad weekend, just partied a little too hard.
Oh my God.
And then Sunday I'd come back to my house and I'd drink.
Damn.
And the whole thing would start over. So that was my life. It's
How long did that go on for?
That went on. I mean, a small version of that was happening for 10 years.
Yeah.
The drinking became more and more and more severe. I mean, I wasn't like that when I first started drinking, but that's how it developed when I was really in my master's program, 24, 25. Then when my ex left me and I was 26 is when morning drinking was happening. And when...
Not the morning.
Yeah, drinking in the morning is great, by the way. The thing... People are like, do you miss going to bars and getting drunk? No, I don't miss that at all. What I miss is waking up super fucking hungover, And just imagine the worst hangover in your life. And then crawling to the kitchen, pouring 4 shots of vodka and taking it. Whoa. I'd pour 4 shots of vodka in a whiskey glass. It was a Prohibition glass, actually. It was a glass with the Prohibition law on it.
Yeah.
And taking that, and the sense of relief from that is unreal.
Wow.
That's what I miss. I miss that more than anything. And that's, am I sure I'm an alcoholic? Yeah, I'm pretty fucking sure, you know?
Sounds like it.
You know, and
But you would always, so you self-hospitalized yourself. Did you ever wake up in jail?
no, I was never arrested.
No?
Another rock bottom for me is I was kidnapped once by a bounty hunter.
What?
I was kidnapped by a bounty hunter.
What was your bounty price?
So the story, I don't know, but the story on that was everyone in my life was very concerned about me, you know? Everyone in my life was concerned. My mom was the most concerned. My mom's my best friend, you know, and she is the best person I know and wouldn't be here without her. And you met my mom.
I did.
My mom. Oh, I want to say this on camera. So my mother,
Nice lady.
wonderful woman. She came to one of my shows. She's like, I want to come to your shows, and the only thing I had was a nonstop comedy at the Comedy Boulevard.
At Boulevard. Was that your first show? Second show?
That must have been like my 5th or 6th show. Yeah.
Wow.
But she sat through my whole act, and you know, for those of you that don't know, it's an act.
It goes deep.
It's revealing.
It goes deep.
It's very personal.
Yeah. And then you got up there after I did, you know, my whole thing, and you were like, man, I just can't believe you say that on stage. Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say it.
Yeah. Is that what I sound like?
A little bit. You got a little bit of. I'm probably exaggerating the voice, but
I can't believe I say that.
You just like rock. You rock back and forth with the mic stand, you know.
Yeah. Well, I remember that set.
Yeah.
I remember that set because I think that was the first, maybe second time I heard you do the infamous Piss King story.
Yeah.
And I went up after, and people thought I was making fun of you. I wasn't making fun of you. I was making fun of myself, saying, I can't believe the balls it takes to get up here and tell people that kind of stuff. We all have done fucked up stuff, but none of us get up here and say that. I could never say that.
Yeah. That
was pretty much my riff. I was like, I could never do what you just did.
Get out of here. It's good to be here, though. Ladies. Brian's mom. It's good to be here. Brian talked about getting pissed on, man. And that's about the 9th time I've heard that story. And it never gets old. You know why? Because he's really telling you guys that. You know what I mean? Like, he's really just saying it. That's a free man right there. To tell. We've all done fucked up shit, you know. You know that stuff you've done that you will take to the grave? You know? I mean, I'm not talking crazy stuff, but like, there's stuff you've done that you wouldn't tell a soul. This man's telling rooms full of people. You got more balls than I do, man. I've never been pissed on, but if I was, I wouldn't tell anybody. Which sucks for me. I wish I could tell people, yeah, I just want to get fucking pissed on, man. I wish I could do that. I'm genuinely jealous. I have fucked up thoughts all the time. Like, I don't know, I think I'd be into like an 8-foot tall woman beating the shit out of me. There's like 9 women beating the shit out of me, calling me a faggot, just like. I never done. It's just a thought. I haven't done it. But if I did, I wouldn't tell you guys about it. When we do that.
Well, and this is related to how I got into comedy in the first place, but the sort of mantra I live my entire life by is that self-awareness without humor is just depression.
Just depression?
Yeah, self-awareness without humor is just depression.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not getting up on stage, and I don't want to say making fun of myself, because I also believe vulnerability is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Nietzsche talks about this in Genealogy of Morals, you know. It's the idea of, you know, power in the, not in strength, but in weakness. And in these moments of, you know, great emotional strife. And the Christians are the ones who capitalize on this. You know, blessed are the meek, for they should inherit the earth, right?
Never heard that.
You've never heard that?
No.
You must be Christian.
No.
You're not Christian?
No.
You were raised Christian?
Kinda.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what
guess
you're
the same
talking
thing.
about.
Yeah.
That's in the Bible?
Yeah.
No. What?
How? Wait a minute. How are you so fucking Southern Tennessee boy and not Christian?
I just never clicked. Never.
Okay.
We went to church. We grew up going to church.
Right.
We went to church camps.
Yeah, we were raised like Southern Baptist
Yeah.
Christian and like in that community, but it never really just clicked with me.
Yeah.
Actually, until recently, it may be coming back.
Nah.
It may be coming back around.
Oh,
I think so.
reborn.
Nah, not reborn. I'm not gonna like wrestle with snakes and like speak in tongues or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think maybe that Jesus dude made a couple good points.
Right.
It just never made sense to me from a very young age. I was just like, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is all very weird. And then there was like people in our lives that were like super into it.
Right.
And I was like, this is just weird. It's very odd.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. And
Right
then
on.
We grew up with a lot of people that were like so indoctrinated into like the Christian faith that it really, speaking for myself, it left like a bad taste in my mouth.
100%.
And so like growing up, I like distanced myself from that. I was like, I don't really care.
they were like hypnotized almost.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And you couldn't have a real conversation with these people because
Right.
they wouldn't say two sentences without bringing Jesus into it. And it's just
Got
like,
it.
can we just talk like fucking human beings, you know?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I don't know if you know our mother's gay. We have two moms.
Yeah.
Parents divorced. Mom married her best friend.
I've heard this story.
As
yeah.
a woman, and then there was this something where she got kicked out of the church
I see.
because of that.
Right.
And then I was like, oh,
Fuck
you
that.
guys
Right,
are
yeah,
you guys
yeah.
are pretty mean for that.
Yeah.
So then kind of never looked back.
Right. Well, how did we get off of this? Oh, right. The vulnerability thing. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of how I got into comedy is that. But did you guys want to hear the rest of the Bounty Hunter story?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
How'd Boba Fett find you, dude?
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. So what happened is my mom started hiring all these interventionists for me. I was intervened on 13 times, which is what we call a Mulaney's dozen.
There you go.
And the interventions weren't working, you know, and the drink.
Can I pause you real
Yeah.
quick? What's it like being in an intervention? Like like walking into the
Yeah,
room
yeah,
and then realizing, oh my God. Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, look, at first it's kind of your friends and family
Yeah.
that are there, and it's people who we love you, we care about you, we want you to get help. And part of the problem with being a high functioning alcoholic and embracing that is just being able to throw shit back in their face. Like, fuck you, I taught at Columbia, you know?
You did accomplish a lot
Yeah.
during this period in your life.
Yeah, fuck you, I've been published in the Library of Congress, you know? Fuck you, I've, been published in 33 literary magazines, you know?
If this was such a problem, how do I keep a teaching job?
Right. Yeah. And it was all that stuff. And then it was also, I don't have a drinking problem. You have a problem with my drinking. It's your problem. It's not my problem, you know?
Yeah.
And so being able then to then talk about the other person, the whole point, if you're an addict, is to get the attention off you.
So just like push off.
Yeah,
just
this isn't
deflect.
about me, Mom. This is about you dealing with the faults of your divorce, or you dealing with the faults of whatever inadequacies are going on in your life that you're projecting onto me. I'm fine. You know?
So you're just clapping back at everybody else.
It's gaslighting, insulting, and manipulating your way out of the situation. You know? And it's hard when you care about people so much. You know, it's not at its time. It was very selfish, but it was absolutely necessary in order to keep drinking. Which there was nothing outside of that for me. You know,
That is kind of funny though. Like you're in the middle of an intervention and you're just like, that's why you got divorced, Deborah.
Right.
Like just totally pushing it off.
right? Exactly. And whatever ammunition you have,
Yeah.
that's what you got to throw out at them.
Jesus.
You know, so you say some of the meanest things you can ever imagine, but you have to, because then the people leave and then you can go back to drinking, which
Yeah.
is the whole point of everything.
Burn as many bridges as possible
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they won't walk through the
Right,
middle.
right.
Scorched earth policy.
And so then you get professionals involved
All right.
who you don't know anything about. And so you can't throw that. That's harder, but then they also have less sway over you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, fuck you, who are you to tell me what to do? I don't even know you. So then that gets hard. And then eventually, so the bounty hunter, it was a huge 6'4", 6'5", well-built guy named Sir Walter. Never figured out who knighted him, but he went by Sir Walter.
Sir Walter.
Sir Walter.
Pretty solid name.
Yeah.
Came in my house probably at like 9:30 in the morning. And so of course I'm hammered.
Hammered or asleep?
Hammered, like drunk.
Still okay. All right.
No, that's morning drinking, you know. So I wake up around 5 in the morning, do 4 shots of vodka, grade some papers or write a paper or you know, read something for class or whatever the case was, you know, whatever I needed to do for the day. And then that day that he came in, though, I was done with school. And the plan for me had been actually, this was at the end of May of 2023. The plan was for me to go back to rehab, this time out here in LA. And I just finished school and I was like, I'm not going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to go. I've been through so much stress with finals and everything. Like, I just need a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And my idea of a vacation was not going to Hawaii or Vegas or whatever. It was sitting on my couch and drinking, you know? And so...
Not much of a vacation.
Right. I mean, that was my everyday. But anyways, Sir Walter came in and he talked with me about stuff. And I realized it was different this time. Because I'd known him before. He'd been kind of in the back of some of the interventions that I'd been in. I didn't really know what he was. He wasn't saying anything to me. He was just kind of sitting back there, I think, kind of scoping out.
Did it feel better because it was like a one-on-one kind of thing?
With him, I don't really remember the conversation very well. I was very drunk, you know? But I knew this was different. I felt this was different. So I got up. I was just in my boxers, too. No shirt, nothing else on. And he kind of lunged at me. He grabbed me. And I kind of started to try to wiggle away. And he carried me out of my house.
Jesus.
He tried to carry me into his car. And my neighbor was pulling into her driveway. And I screamed at her, call the police, call the police, call the police. I'm being kidnapped.
Jesus, man.
And that poor girl probably thinks there are a couple people who think I'm dead. Like, she for sure thinks I'm dead because he threw me back in his car. And then I was able to talk my way out of it because you can't force someone who doesn't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But so he ended up driving me back. And I actually used to have, I don't know if I still have it, like the place on my elbow where he dropped me. Do I still have something at the bottom here? No.
No.
Okay. So he dropped me back at my house, and the intervention group, whatever, was like kind of done with me. You know, they were like, look, he's beyond
Like a lost cause kind of deal.
Yeah. That's when that final bender happened.
Yeah.
3 handles of vodka in 5 days. And I woke up the morning of the I guess would have been the day 6 or whatever. That was June 1st of 2023. And I started throwing up blood, you know, in a trash can.
Whoa,
Not
dude.
good.
And
That's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I remember thinking, oh, I'm throwing up blood because I'm withdrawing. I need to drink more. You know, like that was the thought in my mind. And so I had another thought though. And this is the thought that saved me. Was I don't know if I can ever stop drinking. But I need to pause. I need to just pause. I need to pause everything in my life. And so that was the last day I drank, and I went to the hospital. Well, I couldn't walk anymore. Also, that was the other part of it. I got numb in my legs, you know, and so I was carried to the hospital.
So you convinced yourself, I'll pause, but I'll do it again?
Yeah. I'll go to California, hang out on the beach for like a month, and I'll come back to Denver and I'll teach or take classes or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got to the hospital and they took my BAC and it was a 0.50.
What the fuck, dude?
And
how are you still here, man? What the hell?
You know, that's what the doctor came in and said. He said he had never seen someone with a BAC that high. And he goes, you know, there's one thing that saved you here, and it was your tolerance. And I looked at him and I said, wow, it looks like 10 years of drinking finally paid off.
Pretty good joke.
You know?
Pretty good joke.
That's how you know you were meant to be a comic.
Yeah.
You still got that zinger in, you know?
I mean, he was just like, the fact that you can even talk right now, he goes, I've never seen anyone with that high
That's
BAC in my
incredible,
life.
dude. Half your blood was booze.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And so then I went to a detox facility for about a week and got control of my legs again and came out to California and went to rehab, and that's where I met Nick Tervasala.
Wow.
How did you meet Nick?
He was working at that sober living facility I was at.
That's the same one. All right.
Well, he had been a resident there.
Yeah, he was in there, and then he started working.
And then he started working there, and that's where I met him. And
so funny, dude.
I had one conversation with him, and we just had this immediate great banter, him and I back and forth. And he had told me an idea that he had for a script, for a show that he wanted to do. He's like, I want to do this TV show. And that night, I sat down and like wrote the script. And this was like within a week of knowing him, you know?
Yeah.
And then I showed him the script, and he was like terrified. He was like, who the hell is this kid writing this script? You know,
after just telling you an idea once in a conversation.
Because I knew, I was like, I had this sense. I was like, you and I are meant to work together on something, and you and I are meant to do something together. And the reason why I think I felt that way was twofold. One, I do think Nick and I had this like really great, genuine, immediate banter. You know, it was like, you know how you'll meet someone and you're just like, oh, yeah, I get how your mind works, you know? Mm-hmm. But then it was also, I was sitting there searching for meaning and purpose, because look, they asked me to come back to Denver. They wanted me back there.
You meet Nick, and he had done it a couple times,
right? So Nick, no. Nick was already doing it.
Oh, okay.
Nick had been doing it he'd done it in college, and then he'd been doing it in LA.
Oh, that's right.
And it was just really him and Aldous.
Yeah.
There wasn't this whole community, the whole LA renaissance that we live in now. And it was just the two of them really going to mics at Fourth Wall and getting harassed by these older, grizzled comics who were like, you're never going to make it.
100%. And
he was doing mics at the Boulevard and, you know, that kind of stuff. Chateau, Flappers, you know, all those places. But he didn't tell me about any of it, really, when I knew him. We were just talking back and forth about comedy, and my experience with comedy was mostly shows like The Office, Seinfeld, you know, that kind of stuff. But I'd always loved stand-up as an art form. What I realized going to treatment was, okay, drinking's off the table, right? It can't happen again, right? And so now what? Now what do I do with myself and my life? And I really thought I was going to go into treatment and work in treatment. I was I was out of school for like a month before I enrolled in some classes at UCLA, and I was doing I was taking classes to get my alcohol and drug counseling certification at UCLA.
All right.
And so I moved out of sober living in December of 2023. Then in January of this year, I got a call from Nick, and he was hosting this mic at Comedy Boulevard, and he was like, I need people. I need numbers. You know,
a bringer.
Gotta fill seats, dude. Butts and seats.
But also by that time, I had been going to his shows.
Yeah.
I'd been a bringer for him at Flashback. I'd been a bringer for him at the Ice House. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah.
I could do this. And then I started seeing some comics where I was like, oh, I want to do this.
Nice.
One of the first people I felt that about was Ansley Bailey. Do you know her?
No.
Okay. She's a great comic around the scene. She does a lot of stuff. But I remember seeing her at the Ice House and thinking, oh, this is so interesting because it just gripped me in this way. So anyways, Nick invited me to a mic, and I was like, what's an open mic? This was January of this year. I was like, what's an open mic, you know? And he kind of explained the concept to me, and I was like, I don't have jokes. He goes, no, just go up there, talk about your shit, you know? Because he goes, you talk about your alcoholism in such a funny way.
Yep.
So I did. I went up there. The first joke I told was the Sir Walter Bounty Hunter joke.
Pretty good.
You know? And Jason Rogers was there, and Jason was like, oh, I'm in recovery too. And it was like this immediate warm welcome, which I did not expect. I thought everyone was going to be mean and cold. And even the way Nick had talked about open micers was mean and cold, and all these old distant guys. Instead, it's guys like you guys.
There's a lot of open micers that are not pleasant.
Right.
I think he sold it just about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
And then
that's rough.
The second mic I went to, Nick couldn't go, but I was like, immediately when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, this is great, and I want to do this now. And so second mic I went to, Nick didn't go, and I'd been writing jokes, I've been watching this stuff, you know, and then I got booked for a show, my second mic ever.
Jesus.
The Corinne Sullivan was doing a Thursday night TBT comedy at the Comedy Boulevard, and I was so excited. I brought 20 people.
You brought 20
to a boulevard.
How did you bring 20 people?
I don't know 20 people, dude. What the hell?
Well, it was all these people from recovery.
Okay.
It wasn't any comics.
Wow.
But I thought that was like a deficit. I'm like, oh, I didn't bring any comics as my bringers. I hope they're not upset about that. And Nick's like, I think they're going to love having 20 non-comics.
No, that's better.
That's gold.
I love that you thought that was like the...
Well, I didn't know.
I love that you thought that was like the rule that was like, well, everyone just brings other comics, so that must be what a bringer is. It's like, no, you're supposed to be just a normal guy in the audience.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed... Yeah.
Bringing comics makes the show worse.
Worse. It makes it worse. Oh my God, it makes it so much worse. So... and then I was just like, okay, fuck UCLA. Not as a school. I love the school. But
how'd the first show go?
It was okay.
Nice.
It was okay. I got some laughs, and that felt good. And then I started doing mics every day.
Nice.
And I live in Santa Monica, so I drive an hour every day.
That's got to change.
It's gonna change. It's gonna change. But I drive an hour to mics every day, and what I listen to, and I've said this to you, both of you before, is I listen to this podcast.
That's crazy.
On my drive. Not every day, because you guys don't come out with enough episodes. But when a new one drops, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing in the car, you know?
Right on.
Well, thank you, man.
And so...
Did you watch it before we met?
No.
No? It was like
I didn't know about it
before
we met, you know? I would have, but I didn't. And what I actually... Nick and I used to drive to a lot of mics together, because he used to live in Santa Monica. And so that was kind of, and we'd run jokes by each other and stuff. It was great. It was like an hour-long open mic before the actual mic. And then, so I just became like obsessed and addicted to it, you know? And I think as it relates to my recovery, people have different relations. Like, should you get addicted to something else if you know, it's like, because a lot of people turn to food after alcohol.
Well, if it's something positive, why not get addicted to it?
I do think that there's healthy obsessions.
Totally.
For sure.
Get addicted to working out.
Well, that's what I mean. There are a lot of. Totally. You ever seen these guys with all the tattoos and for sure. I know so many people who like are at Equinox every day. You know, and but yeah, I fell in love with it immediately. So first couple shows were okay, and then the first big show I did was a guys' night. Mm-hmm. March.
How many people did you bring to that?
I brought 21.
Jesus.
So you doubled the numbers there, dude.
Yeah, 21.
Man.
And well, I brought my whole sober living facility. Yeah, that was huge, and they all came. It was great. That was the first show that I really got. I wouldn't call them big laughs, but like the kind of laughs where you're like, oh, that's what this is supposed to feel like.
The feeling of a potential kill, if not a kill.
Right. Well, I mean, looking back at the tape now.
Of course, now,
like, never. Oh my God, this is terrible.
No, but that's all you need is that little like pop, and you're like, oh, I did something there.
Right.
I did comedy.
Yeah.
Instead of just silence at an open mic.
Exactly. And then, but of course, like, I still don't think I had good context for what a good show was, and then. Finally, in May, I did a string of 4 shows that all went really well. Nice. You know, I did Ice House, Percy's show, Percy and Friends of the Ha Ha, the Improv, and then the store.
Nice.
And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is it.
Nice.
This is really what I'm meant to do, and was getting the big pops and all that stuff. And Nick was there for all of that, you know. It's a weird universe that my comedy mentor is Nick Dervasila.
Wow.
Who's 5 years younger than me.
God is truly cruel, isn't he?
Does not have a college degree. Does not have a stable job.
Yeah.
Or a car.
Or a car. I'm his car.
Yeah.
Or a phone all day today.
Or a phone. I was late to this podcast because Nick left his phone in my car.
That's okay. You brought charcuterie.
I did. But listen, isn't that kind of perfect?
So
though?
funny.
But it's perfect, right? That a guy like me, who comes from all of this education, and all of this prestige, and all of it, like that, I'm meant to have a mentor
And
like him.
Here's Nick.
Yeah,
there you go.
This
Nick,
is what the universe has thrown at me,
that's actually perfect.
But it works, you know.
Oh, I've never heard that before. With that back knowledge, that makes your relationship with Dervasila so much more funny.
Yeah,
Makes
that's
so much
hilarious.
He's gonna hate me saying this on camera, but I want to say it.
That's funny, bro.
So he's gonna hate this so much. So that Ice House show I did the first time in the California Room. Have either of you performed there?
Not the main one.
Not in the
Okay.
Ice House. I've never
Oh,
even
the
been.
Ice House. No, never.
No. Okay. So that room, that California room, there's something kind of magical about that room. It was a room designed for comedy.
Yeah.
You know. And I was getting just the biggest pops in my life, and I was getting applause breaks. Like I did BB&F, and I got this huge applause break. Piss King killed, all that stuff. I look over at Nick, and he and I make eye contact, and he's got tears in his eyes.
Oh, wow.
He would hate it so much, but
Nick, you cried, dude, like a girl, dude. Come on, man.
he was so proud of me, you know, and because
That's
he
cool.
was there from the beginning, and he was there when I entered into LA sobriety with no idea what I was going to do with my life and no idea who I was, and I was 11 days sober. 11 days, and my mind was out of control.
Yeah.
Because I just come out of this near-death experience.
Well, he's got to see the entire arch.
Yeah.
He's seen like the entire story from start to where it is right now.
Yeah. So
That's
I know
really-
that I talked for so long there.
That's okay. You know, I was just thinking while you were talking earlier. You talk very much like a writer.
Yeah.
Where it's very arching stories with nice callbacks and then getting into a subject. You're a good listen.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Would you start a podcast?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to. Because I've got a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got maybe too much to say. Maybe that should be the title of my podcast. Too much to say. Yeah.
It's a pretty good title.
Pretty good one.
But especially because Nick likes to say, he's like, you're a little much, Wiora, you're a little much. But
You do a good Nick.
yeah.
Too much.
That's funny. A little much.
But yeah, I mean, really, to me, the amazing thing about comedy, and as I'm sure you all would agree, is the people.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's shocking. Like, no one really feels competitive with each other.
Not in a negative way, no.
Yeah.
In there's like positive, competition and stuff like that. But yeah, anyone I've run into that's negative, I avoid.
Yeah.
And they're not the people we hang out with.
Yeah, it's like a self-cleaning system. It's like the people that just have that bad, just gross energy. They get washed out anyway, and they're not, invited to the cool shows or
Right.
like the hangouts or on the podcasts.
Mhm.
It's a self-cleaning mechanism.
Yeah.
And I wanted that so bad when we moved here. It was just both of us. We knew nobody. And then we started going to mics. We'd meet people here and there. And, we just wanted like a community so bad.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have one.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
I think that's really cool, and the joke writing advice I get from people is great, because look, I still don't think I'm a great joke writer, like tight jokes with all the tags and all that stuff, But
you have longer jokes.
I do have longer narrative, although last night I was able to do some like more jokey jokes.
I like the clean material
Yeah.
you're trying. I was talking with Nick. I was talking with Nick Dervasila at the bar, and I was just like, yeah, Brian looks a lot more loose up there and loose and like tight up there.
Yeah.
And the clean jokes worked.
They
didn't
did. They actually worked better than the other stuff too,
They-
which was kind of unbelievable.
They were good, man.
Yeah. Well, so I think on the clean stuff. So first of all, like coming from I'm a Seinfeldian. You know,
Okay.
like I think that it's a top 3 show of all time for me. And Curb's up there as well.
100%.
So, like that was what I thought comedy was, is the clean jokes and stuff. And when I started doing comedy, it was like half these jokes I was writing were all the dirty, debaucherous, piss-king stuff, you know? Which, by the way, anyone listening to this podcast who's not heard piss king is going to be like, what are you talking about?
Piss King has been brought up tonight a few times. If you'd like to see Piss King, follow Brian Wiora. You got a show coming up? You could tell him Piss King?
You gonna do some plugs here?
Yeah, I've got a show. I'm doing Percy's birthday show, actually, on August 15th at the Haha Comedy Club.
Go there if you want to hear this
And
Piss
then
King joke.
Jester's Court is August 25th at the Hotel Cafe.
Yes, sir. Come on out if you want to hear the Piss King story.
Look,
Yeah.
it's a very mysterious title. I know that you guys know you want to know what Piss King is, okay?
You're probably listening right now. What the hell's Piss King? Who is Piss King?
Come find out.
You'll find out, all right?
I love it.
Speaking of piss, I got to take a piss.
Okay, should we break?
Yeah.
I feel like I should also mention, as we've taken a break here, that your viewers might see me drink this. This is a non-alcoholic beer.
That's right, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is an NA beer.
Yeah.
How is NA beers? Are they?
It's good. You know, there's a debate about them in the sober community because, you know, it's like, oh, should you be doing this? And some of them do have...
Could it tempt you?
Yeah. Some of them do have trace amounts of alcohol in it. It's no more than a kombucha, by the way, which also has trace amount. Like when I was in sober living, I couldn't drink kombucha because it would choke.
has alcohol in it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's the fermentation process that. Yeah.
Also, I'd like the record to state that these are NA vodka tonics.
Yes.
These are NA.
There's no alcohol in the vodka this time. Yeah.
But speaking of Jesters, right before we broke, we talked about Jesters. How about Jester's Court last night?
Yeah.
Hell of a show, huh?
Great show. It was my first time hosting.
You did good.
Thank you.
Did really good.
Thank you.
First
Yeah, you did.
time in the main room, the big room
Yep.
of the Hotel Cafe. And a good amount of people showed up.
Great amount of people. We were very lucky.
Dante was telling me right before the show, he was like, I was so stressed yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, why? He was like, I forget the number, but he was like, yesterday we only had like 7 tickets sold.
Yeah, we had 8 tickets sold for a
Hey.
while. And then the number started crawling up a little bit. And, of course, we're hounding people.
Yeah.
You know,
But that always happens. People don't like to be committed to
Right.
going somewhere. That means day of, that's where most people are going to buy tickets.
Well, we had a bit of an unholy trinity going for us. Number one is it was a Wednesday night show.
Okay.
And we're normally on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
So that doesn't affect comics as much, but it affects normal people, right?
Yeah.
You know, normal people can go out on Sunday night. They can't really on a Wednesday night.
They have work the next morning.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
stay out late.
Right. And then the other thing is COVID's going around. We all know some comics that have it.
Yeah.
And we all share a mic, too.
Mhm.
You know, it's...
We're in close quarters.
Yeah.
All high-fiving and hugging and
Right.
yelling and yeah.
Kissing each other, yeah.
Yeah, we all do that.
Yeah. And then the third thing is, like, with the last Jesters, we had a really reputable lineup name-wise.
Yes.
You know, Jimmy Dore was on. Kurt Metzger showed up. Mm-hmm. You know, and so it's like the only way to top that, you always want the next show to be better, is by bringing in Chappelle or Bill Burr, you know, whatever. But I have to say, the person who had not just the best set of the night, but one of the best sets in Jester's history was Lori Kilmartin.
She was so funny.
It was unbelievable.
You could tell how like seasoned she was too.
So seasoned.
She went up there like a vet.
And
man.
she took a room that was not her primary audience.
Yeah.
And made it her primary audience. I mean, I liked her stuff before a lot. Now she's just skyrocketed into one of my all-time favorites, you know?
She crushed so hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were all under 30 maybe, everyone in that room.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. And she mentioned something about that on stage. And,
Yeah.
she was just so good.
She was great.
And I had never heard of her before that.
Yeah. I mean, and she's got a lot of credentials. So, you know, she wrote for Conan. She was a finalist on Last Comic Standing.
Yeah.
She
was on Tough Crowd.
was on Tough Crowd, right? And that's probably the thing amongst comics that's like, oh, okay.
with Patrice O'Neill, right?
Right. And Colin Quinn, of course.
Love Colin.
Yeah. I recently, it's, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about comedy all the time now because I feel like I'm behind. And so I just watched, I think probably like a month and a half ago, Red State, Blue State.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Unbelievable. And again, that was one of those things that was so sexy to me because it was different. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's such a different way to do a comedy special.
Yeah.
Yeah, most comics that do like what I find, most comics that like focus on really political stuff,
Yeah.
they're just annoying.
Yeah.
They come off like, dude, stop preaching to me. I don't care.
Yep.
Right.
The way that Colin Quinn like approached that special was just it was so different and fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, Colin's great. But Lori was, last night, I think,
So good.
very easily had the set of the night. And not to say anybody else had a, like, it wasn't that everyone else didn't have a good set. You had a great set.
Thank you, man. It felt good.
Yeah.
She was the headliner, and there's a reason she was the headliner.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
she crushed.
There's
Yeah.
a reason she was the last lady on the stage.
Right.
Yeah.
But you that doesn't always happen.
No.
At these shows, sometimes the headliner gets up there and bombs, and you're like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
That the opposite happened with her.
But I loved the community. I love going to shows, even when I'm not on the lineup. I love going to shows and seeing all the guys and all the girls, and we hang out, and the vibes are good, and we're cracking up.
Yeah.
And then we go out after,
Yeah.
go to a bar, have drinks.
Tribute bar.
Tribute bar, right across the street from the Hotel Cafe.
That's right.
Sponsored by.
No, it is the sponsor of.
That's the sponsor of
the Jester's
Jester's
Court.
Court.
Yeah.
Go there. Maybe you'll see their signs spattered around the bar.
Hayden's name is still on the bar.
That's the first thing Brian said to me when I walked into the front of the bar for the after party. He grabbed me by the shoulder. He was like, "Your name's on the wall." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Your name's on the wall," and there it was, that big poster.
Okay.
Real big, It was
It's cool.
whatever the standard size of a piece of paper is.
It's a flyer on the wall.
Yeah.
The Jester's Court, mentioned on the Joe Rogan podcast, might we say.
That
Mentioned, yes.
It was mentioned.
Talked about on the Joe Rogan podcast.
It was very
Yeah.
cool,
Pretty big. And talked about on the Bombing podcast.
which is even bigger.
I mean, you can't, how do you even compare those
it's
two?
mentioned quite frequently on the
It is.
on the bombing podcast.
It sure is.
Yeah.
No, it was a fun show, man. That was a lot of fun.
Last night was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was one of those like those shows where I was sitting in the back in the rafters. I was like watching the crowd, and I was like, I wasn't even nervous really. I was like, oh, this is gonna go well.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a fun time.
Yeah. It was just from the moment that it started, it was like laughter felt contagious.
Yeah.
That night, and everyone had a really good set. And
It's weird that there's some times where like just the vibe in the room almost forget about like how the comics are doing. Sometimes there's just a vibe in the room where everyone is on the same page.
Yeah.
And it can make or destroy the whole night.
Yeah.
Even a killer goes up there. But if the room isn't on board, they'll just bomb.
Yeah. Everyone was there last night to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I feel, it sounds dumb to say, like, of course you're at a comedy show, but it isn't. Like, we all have been to shows now.
Yep.
Where you go to like a flashback show or whatever, and you've got a great lineup and super excited, and it's like no one does well, and you're
Yep.
like, why?
Yep. And it's people that you know are funny. They're doing the stuff that you've heard get laughs.
Right.
And then you go up there with your A stuff, but they're just like, no, not tonight.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, it's gonna be one of these.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one
Right.
of these.
And you can tell the first joke in, you go, oh,
no.
man. Like inside, you go, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then there's a part of me when the room is like that, and I'm next, and the comic before me is kind of struggling. There's a part of me that goes, I'll get him.
Yeah.
No, I'll get him. Just you wait.
Yeah.
And I go up there and I go, oh fuck.
And the confidence goes away like halfway through the first joke. You're like, oh, fuck.
It's so bad. And then that's what's so funny. It's like sometimes your A material has very little to do with the writing or the joke. It's like how you do it. So when you're in a dead room and you're trying this A material, but you're doing it, you're kind of half doing it. You ever have that like an act out and you kind of don't fully commit and it shows and you're just like, oh. And then the worst part is it makes you think about that joke differently.
Yeah.
You ever bomb with like your A?
Oh, for sure.
And then you're just like, I'm not going to do that again. I bombed.
Yeah. When Piss King bombed at the last Jesters
Oh, no.
in June, it was like the first time it had like really bombed like that.
And that's a long bit. When did it start to bomb?
immediately.
Immediately?
And
and you got like 3 more minutes.
I know.
You're locked into that bit, dude. You have to do the rest of it.
I made a mistake that I didn't get everyone on the train.
Oh.
And if you don't get everyone on board with a joke like that, all anyone's going to want to do the rest of the joke is get off the train.
Yep.
And I started saying, you just said it, like, I'm going to get him.
Mm-hmm.
I said this last night. There was a joke it was my last joke, Arnold Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that on stage. I said, when a little tag didn't work, I was like, I'll get you here.
Yep.
I said that, which is kind of a ballsy move, but also is a move that I really respect when other comics do it, is like, I know you're not laughing at this. I'm aware that didn't work. And so the audience feels like, oh, you're on our side.
Yeah, you're addressing it, and you're also, I'd say, humanizing the comic more.
Right.
You're the comic, but like when you see a comic do that, it's like, oh, I'm not better than you because I'm up here.
Right.
I'm fucking struggling.
Yeah.
And you feel it, and I can feel it. I'm gonna say it, and we're just gonna keep trying this together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a bit like that at the show last night too. It was my closing bit, the one about dumb art. I had a hot set. I was riding.
You were so loose last night.
I was riding the entire time, and then Dante gave me the light. I did the dumb art bit, about like children's art and all that,
right?
And it just didn't hit the way it usually does
for some reason.
For whatever reason, I was just like, all right, good night, everybody.
You had no time.
But yeah, I didn't have any time to like save it. So it was like this flying high, awesome set, and then like just this dud. And I was like, all right, good night, everybody. Fine.
Yeah.
I still count it as a win, though. That was fucking
totally
awesome.
A win. It was a win.
I think that can happen sometimes when, and tell me if you guys agree with this, but like it can happen sometimes when you like acknowledge the light, when you point to it and people kind of know it's your last joke. I don't know if you find this, but like at that point people are like, oh, finally I can go to the bathroom, or oh, finally I can go get a drink, or oh, like it would be almost like in a movie if the actor turned to the camera and was like, this is the final scene. You know, how would that would affect maybe the way that you watch the final scene?
I have a hack for that.
What's your hack?
It's you just look at the light.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
You don't do a point.
Right.
You don't do a nod.
Right.
You don't do like a you don't freak out like, is that a minute? Is that a
Yeah.
You just, all I do is I see the light and the audience doesn't see the light.
Right.
That's what comics think, like, oh, everyone can see this small light in the back left.
Right.
I'm doing my jokes. I see the light. I just stare at it, but I don't make a face. Just stare at the person holding the light, and then when it goes away, you just keep going, and to them it just looks like, oh, I just looked over here for a bit.
Sure.
You don't do anything.
Yeah, but that also, I think, not to disagree with your point, I agree with that, but it also wouldn't fit your character to point at the light.
How so? How so?
You are your stage presence is commanding, but is very static.
Yeah, I don't move around a lot.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Ryan Jennings act out pic.
Oh God, I don't know.
That's what I loved about doing the main room finally at the Hotel Cafe. It was like a large stage. So
Yeah.
like you could walk around a little bit.
For sure.
Because I don't like do act outs, but there are a couple of jokes where I do move around, and like at open mics and then like, you know, the shows we do around town, we're so used to this tight little like box,
Right.
like the width of a guy, you know?
Yeah.
It was nice having that like just room to move around.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I have the opposite problem where I'm constantly walking around way too much.
You use every inch of the stage.
Yeah.
No matter how big or small.
Do you think that's like a nervous thing, or is it like
At first it was. But then I was doing it so much that I was like, oh, this should be a part of the character on stage, you know? It's like
it works because even last night, and I've seen you do it many times before, but your bits are more long and they're more kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
And you'll walk around and you're talking and you'll face the ground, you'll like look at the ground and then back at them and then like up at the ceiling, walking this way, telling a thing. It's very theatrical and it works.
Yeah, well so I actually, the closest I'd gotten to stand-up comedy was I was on my college's improv troupe. And I also had done some theater before. So I think I approached the stage more theatrically. Now, I don't know if my bits are theatrical. I don't know if I'm not an act-out comic. I'm not a prop comic, you know, but I think just when I'm on stage, I want to move around it.
That makes sense. I wouldn't think about it too much also.
Yeah.
Because once you start thinking about how you come across, you start to do like a impersonation of yourself almost.
Yeah.
Like, is this I have to do this because that's my thing. That's what they think my thing is.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you do naturally, and I don't think about it.
Right. Well, yeah, it would be silly for me to think about it too much as I'm building it. You know, like I said, I'm still not even 6 months into this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still developing my voice. And I'm still finding the stage presence. I'm still finding out what I want to do.
Yeah.
How'd you like hosting for the first time? What was that like?
Hosting was great. I think I've got a good personality for it, and I don't mean that as like I'm but I just think I'm very loud and
100%.
I talk a lot, and
No, it works.
I think it works for me for sure. I wish I could have introduced more comics.
How many did you introduce?
I introduced 3, and my big thing was doing the Joker spot as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Mason's spot.
Yeah. Well, no, it's the Joker spot.
Oh, well. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Mason got the Joker spot.
Mason this time did win the Joker spot. Yeah, and he's great. It's not to, but it's no one's spot.
Yeah. But no, but it was good. 3, you did good for your first time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You know, 3 comics and the Jokers did the Jokers thing.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah, for sure. It did.
But I do have some breaking news that just broke today.
Oh, yeah?
I am doing my first show, putting on my first show with Nick Titoni at Clark Street Diner. This month, August 23rd, Diner After Dark.
Whoa.
At the Clark Street Diner. I work there.
Uh-huh.
And my boss was thinking about doing some sort of open mic, and I was like, I know all the funniest up-and-comers in Los Angeles. And Nick is a pro at putting on shows.
Yeah.
And and he comes into the diner a lot to hang out while I work. So we were just like, what if we tried to do a show here? And we've been talking about it, and then today we got it finalized.
I love that.
So,
It's perfect for your aesthetic. I mean,
I love it. And it looks great. It's like a shotgun like seating area, and then with booths on the side. It'll look really cool. Yeah. August 23rd. That's our first show, Diner After Dark.
That's a
amazing.
Friday.
That's a Friday night.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And what's perfect about that is you go to that show Friday night, and then you go to Jester Sunday night.
That's right.
And it's the
Right
it's the
afterwards.
ideal.
It's like a 1-2 hit.
It's a beautiful lineup.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Do you how it's not a part of I Need This? It's a separate thing.
Yeah, separate thing.
Okay, great.
And Hayden will be on there. Anderson, Nick is obviously myself, and then we're reaching out to some people.
Awesome.
As we speak.
That's great.
So and hopefully it's gonna be a monthly thing. He wants to see how it goes the first time.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be blown away because he doesn't know comedy. He doesn't know like.
Your boss doesn't.
Yeah, my boss doesn't, and he doesn't really know like what I think he thinks is gonna be like this small kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when hopefully when it gets packed out and it'll look really good, he'll be like, oh shit.
Right.
And it's a great opportunity for them to sell booze. They sell mimosas and wine and beer there already.
Oh, that's really a lot of diners don't.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And also they have a bar which they also own, which is attached to the diner. So we've got this thing going where you go across the hall to the bar, you get half off a drink or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's been super collaborative, which is nice.
Yeah.
And so if the alcohol sales are good, then we get all the ticket sales.
That's amazing.
Pretty great.
I'll come and I'll buy a bunch of alcohol for other people.
Let's do it.
Not-
You just
not
start
for me.
drinking. You start drinking to promote the show.
Fucking yeah. We call that a free lapse. You ever heard this term?
Isn't
a
that
what?
Isn't
A
that
free
where
lapse?
if you accidentally take a sip, it doesn't count?
Yeah, but then also a free lapse is like a relapse, but it doesn't count. It's like I drank, but it didn't count. And of course it does. It's like a
Of
joke,
course it
you
does.
know.
I free lapse every night.
But
dude.
like this would be
That's crazy. I didn't know it was called that.
I'm free lapsing right now, dude.
Yeah.
This one doesn't count.
But yeah, I'll free lapse. I mean, like it's a perfect excuse. Like I think it counts in
think it
AA. Like if I go there and I'll be like, well, but it was to promote the show at the Clark Street Diner.
It was for Diner After Dark show.
yeah, Diner After Dark.
August 23rd, Friday night.
They'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're excused.
Ryan Jennings from the Bombing Podcast?
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's breaking news that we found that out.
That's amazing. I'm honored to be a part of the breaking news.
It's fun. I'm excited.
You're one of the first people to find out about it.
That's
actually.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows.
This news is hours old, by the way.
That's awesome.
So, come there, folks. And
Yeah.
if you're, I'll buy you a drink if you come. If you heard about it on the podcast, but you're not like a friend. If you're a stranger.
So listen, Ryan. Here's what you have to do. There's got to be a secret word that would only have been said on the podcast
That's
that
pretty
they have
good.
to say to you.
Okay, charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
That's the word. But it can't be a comic.
Ah.
It's got to be like a non-comic random fan.
Like
of
a
the
real
pod.
guy, just a regular, normal guy.
Yeah. All this can't be like, hey, charcuterie, give me a drink. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
So if you go up to Ryan at the Clark Street Diner After Dark, and say the word charcuterie, and you're not a comic,
That's right.
Ryan will buy you a drink.
I will buy you a drink. This one doesn't count, folks.
It's a free lapse. So
how's the cheese?
Cheese. It's
Cheese. Good.
It's very good.
Why do they make cheese in wheels, by the way?
I think
It's easier to transport.
You think? They just roll it down the hole?
Because if cheese was like squares, like you'd have to pick them up, but with wheels, you can just like
Roll them?
put 4 of them on
is
a
that
car,
why? There's probably a scientific reason behind
drive
this. I
it
don't
to the
know.
cheese factory, and then just take the cheese wheels off, and there.
Feels like something I would.
It's not terrible
Yeah.
idea. I don't know. I wouldn't do cheese and wheels if that were me,
It's like, why are eggs round? You know,
because they have to fit through the butthole of
the chicken.
The chicken, yeah.
Yeah.
This feels like a bit of yours.
What?
Yeah.
No,
You wouldn't do anything about.
Well, hold on. It
animals,
doesn't.
that's
I
true.
don't have
It
animals.
does
You don't do
involve
any
animals.
no. I have other bits.
A big thing of yours is involving animals.
Since
in your
when
bets.
has a big thing of Ryan's been?
I have other things, other jokes that aren't about animals.
You've got one about lasers.
Yeah. Yep. I got a lasers joke.
Yeah.
You know, I was at Drunk New Jokes the other night. I was judging, and my new stuff bombed. It wasn't great, or thought out. It was just shit.
Yeah.
But the one, like my go-to, I was like, I had this one about an animal, and so I did like 3 jokes. They fucking bombed, and I took shots, and I was like, all right, this one's gonna get him. And I start the joke, and it's about a chipmunk, and as soon as I say chipmunk, Nick Dervasila starts cracking up.
Yeah.
I've said nothing funny. I go, all right, okay. What else we got? I got this. There's this chipmunk. Dervasila starts cracking up,
Yeah.
like almost ruining the.
Right.
I had to like look at him, you know, and I just knew I said, oh, it's because I'm doing another fucking animal joke.
I have done that to your joke before. I did that to the Aardvark, Noah's Ark Aardvark joke.
Oh,
How they didn't put bees on Noah's Ark.
bees and anteaters and eels.
Oh, I said aardvark. I meant anteater.
Yeah.
I meant anteater. My apologies.
That's all right.
But as soon as you did that bit, I started cracking up. I almost had to leave the room. I do this where and I've got such a ridiculous laugh, you know?
It's pretty wild.
It
Yeah.
can't be worse than guys, but go on.
I don't know about worse or better, but it might be more ridiculous. And it does consume Dante brought this up at Jester's last
Yeah.
night. Yeah. Where I will start, I uncontrollably laughing at a bit, and I have to leave.
It sounds like you're like dying, like you're choking or something.
But Misha had this one joke too that killed me about cashews. Have you heard that one?
So good.
It's unbelievable, and I lost it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. When I lose it on a joke, I can't stop laughing.
What I like about you is
You
you're
really
very.
know how to dance.
What I like about you, you're very outgoing and talkative.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be to bring 21 people to a fucking bringer. That's insane. And that's very much not me.
Yeah.
I don't talk much. I don't like big groups.
Well, you could though, Ryan.
I can reach a point. I can't. It's got to be. But
I can name 21 people right now that would come to a bringer for you.
I don't think so.
You want me to do it off the top of my head right now?
No.
Let's do it. This is
No.
science experiment. I can.
Please don't. But look, I'm friendly, but I'm not outgoing. I'm not like. It's very surface level friendly. It's not fake. It's genuine, but it's, you know.
I'm very much the same way. I have to put effort into making connections, making friends. Because if I was just left to my own devices, I would just be me and my twin mattress in this
But
shit
do you
apartment
think
in Hollywood.
some of that is because of both of you?
How so? Just
Like-
because we have each other?
Yeah.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
But I think we're that way separately also.
Yeah.
But there is a huge relief and comfort in knowing, no matter where I am or what's going on, there's Hayden. Let's dip.
Right.
It's like a beacon. We're just like, no matter what's going on, it's like, all right, we're out. Come on.
Yeah.
Also, comedy makes it easy too, because like even last night, like when I got off stage, I went straight to the bar. Not proud of it, whatever. I head straight to the bar, and like even on the way there, people were like, "Hey, good set." Like there's that like something common to like strike up a conversation.
Right.
With. And so like I can be outgoing and friendly in that kind of environment.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? Not to interrupt. Sorry. I didn't
No,
mean to
go
interrupt.
ahead.
But yeah. So the bar that sponsors us Tribute, they were kind of asking. They're like, do you all want to do? Like, we should have some activity, and they run a musical bingo, which is a great musical bingo on Wednesday nights at Tribute Bar in Hollywood.
I'm there all the time. Great bar.
It's a great bar, great food.
Yeah.
Great food. And with the Jester's Court ticket, you get 15% off of all of that food and drink as well.
Great deal, if you ask me.
And so, but it's interesting because what we said is like, look, we're just sitting in this room for 2 hours, consuming this information. Like, all we want to do after the show is talk about it.
Yeah.
And actually, Nick and I are so similar in this way. Like, we will go after a show and we will talk about a show we just saw for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Even if it's some little flashback thing. And be like, okay, what do you think about this comic? What do you think about this comic? And Nick also is obsessed with ranking stuff. God, talking about him now, I understand why people think we're a couple. But because we'll just sit there and we'll be like, hey, who do you think had the best set? Who do you think, this person had this or whatever? And it's such a, I don't know if it's a great way to approach it, but it's a really fun way to approach it.
Yeah.
I do think there is something noble in being like, I don't know if I think about things in terms of ranking or in terms of like who did better than who or whatever.
That's more like how we think. We do that together alone.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd go up to someone who I sort of know and be like, what your problem is.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah. Or even rank people in front of other people. Not that happened. I'm just creating a thing. But like big and also like last night there was like people that we knew well, and then people we didn't know that well.
Yeah.
And then people we didn't know at all. That's where I get uncomfortable.
Right.
Because I'm like, it's not one big group. There's like two pockets of a group.
Yeah.
And then I kind of shut down.
Right.
I think
so one thing I think is, I just said I think like 7 times, but I always take it as a compliment when someone comes up to me and is like, I know what can make that joke better.
Yeah.
Because that person actually believes in you. Mm-hmm. I used to teach undergraduate creative writing, introduction to poetry. You would not believe the terrible poems I read in that class from 18, 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
Oh, do tell, please. Do you have a couple?
Well, it's just a lot of poems that were about like frat parties,
Okay.
and be like,
The floor is sticky
Yeah.
with the dried beer of
and
the rapist.
and unfulfilled. it's filled with dried beer and unfulfilled desire.
Okay.
And then he looks at me across the beer pong table, and I look back at him, and that kind of stuff. And
poetry is just bad
Are
stand-up.
you trying to turn me on, dude? Damn.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
poetry's a lot like stand-up. So you start to come up with interesting ways to say something's bad.
Yeah, polite ways to say you're terrible.
Yeah, and like one thing I would say to some of my students is like, wow, this seems like a very genuine poem.
I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
This is very genuine, or this is very be like, this must have been a cathartic experience to write.
Oh God, it's like how women like say nice things to each other, but it's
But,
actually a dig.
But
Yeah.
they're mean about it?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Wow, dude.
Whereas like some of the best compliments I've ever given students for the poems they would write would be stuff like, you need to change the third line of this poem.
Yeah.
Like genuine criticism.
Because that means, hey, I think lines 1, 2, and the rest are good. It's just the third line that needs work. The best compliments I receive about my joke writing are the same thing, where they're like, this is a great bit,
Yeah.
but there's this thing in it that's not working. And it's like, oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing you can hear is like, no, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
That actually was
good.
That was actually,
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah. And that's something we've learned pretty recently, where, because I like to be nice. If someone bombs and I know them well, I'll be like, what happened up there?
Yeah.
But if I don't really know you that well, I don't think I'll give you criticism or just be like, oh, good set.
Right.
I just won't say anything. I think, like, who am I to tell you what I think you should? What you should do is, I don't have that in me, I think.
Yeah.
Or I haven't reached it yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a really nice guy, but do you ever find yourself giving advice to people or never?
Sometimes I have to know you well. I have to know you well.
Yeah.
And even then, I give advice on the podcast, but it's funny. There's a disconnect because I'm not talking to a person.
Right.
I'm just talking with you guys now.
Yeah, right.
Sharing advice. But I'd have to know you pretty well.
Right. Yeah, and I don't really feel like I still don't feel like I'm at a place where I'm like, who am I to give right criticism? Especially because I'm so much newer than a lot of even though I'm a little bit older. I just turned 30.
I'm 3 weeks out
from being 30.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
I'm 27.
You're 27.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. I didn't realize that was the age difference.
What do you think it was?
I don't know what I thought it was. I just didn't think it was that.
It's that, baby. 27, 29.
I'm actually 40. I don't tell anybody that.
Yeah.
You know what's strange? Sorry.
No, go.
You know what's... I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go.
You know what's strange about your career? 6 months, right?
Yeah.
6 months in. I feel like that's not a normal trajectory.
Yeah.
For first open mic to getting a show on your second open mic.
Yeah.
To at the Ice House your 5th or whatever.
And then doing the store.
And then at the store your 9th.
Yeah.
And then doing shows regularly with friends like your 15th. To then putting on a show at whatever it is now, 6 months.
Right.
It's a very fast track.
Yeah, I moved quickly through this.
Yeah.
I'm sure that writing background helped, though.
It did. The writing background helped, and honestly, just even the way I approached teaching helped this too, and lecturing. I used to lecture a lot in front of people, and that helped. And I've always been very comfortable. I was a debater in high school, I've always been very comfortable speaking in front of people.
When I was younger, I thought about I'd want to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Because I would watch lawyers. I'd watch the people lawyering.
Practicing law.
Practicing law.
Yeah, it's not too late for you to do this.
It won't happen. But it was
talk to EJ, dude.
This was I should. Who? Eddie.
Yeah. Okay.
Eddie. Yeah, that's right.
Let's get that straight.
Yeah, Eddie.
And but I would watch people defending clients, and it's just like a set. They've prepared. They've got all their shit, and the judge goes, "All right, let me hear your case." And they go up and they do a set of their prepared this, and this is why I think this. And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And I thought that'd be interesting because I was like, I feel like I could just say things very normal and abruptly and get people off cases. And then later to be doing stand-up, I was like, oh, it's no different almost.
Right.
I'm going up there with an idea and saying the shit. And except there's no consequence of someone getting the death penalty,
Yeah, the stakes are lower.
That's right.
Yeah,
bombing, it doesn't result in literal bombing.
You don't go, oh,
No,
shucks, life
yeah,
sentence.
yeah, yeah.
Damn it.
If your lawyer bombs, you're dead.
Who don't you want to bomb? Your doctor, your lawyer?
Yeah, those people can't bomb.
Who can't? Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
No, that's interesting. So you already had kind of an experience with public speaking.
Yeah.
In front of a crowd, you were kind of familiar with that.
Yeah.
Going into it.
Right.
That's very unique.
But I also just did what everyone told me to do. And that was the thing. I didn't come in and I came in very humbly to the experience. And people were just hit mics every day. And I said, okay. I took that very literally, and I would come home after a mic and watch stand-up comedy, or I'd listen to my set recorded. And so I just know that I think I did get lucky in a lot of ways. I knew good people, and those good people gave me good opportunities.
And you also did the work, though.
But I think luck favors the well-prepared.
Yeah.
I was ready to do, when I got offered stuff, I said yes because I knew I was capable of doing it. And I was also willing to bring people.
Yeah.
You know, and that were from where I stood. Look, we could have a whole podcast episode with a lot of different opinions about the idea behind bringers.
Yeah.
The way I look at them is, look, do I love you and I met, and I started just texting you about bringers, and you're probably sitting there like,
it weirded me out.
Yeah.
Not weirded me out, but I don't like that. Hey, can you come to my show kind of thing?
Yeah.
So, and maybe that'll affect me in the future by saying no to a lot of people. But
no, I didn't take it personally.
Good. I hope not.
And the reason why is because I just knew, hey, I've got to get people to the show because that's the way I'm going to get on these stages.
Yeah. I've also gotten better at that, by the way. When you know, because no one prepares you for the asking to come to bringers. You start out, you're like, I work, and maybe that's not a lie. I work, and then you're like, I got a thing that day. Now I'm just like, I don't have it in me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have it in me.
Yeah, it's also humiliating too.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to come to my bringer stand-up
Not
show?
even do you want to, can you?
That's it. Yeah.
I need
you to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, and I go. A lot of times I go. I go to a lot. But sometimes I get overwhelmed with too much stand-up overload.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just cannot go to another fucking flashback show.
But that does show a tremendous amount of tenacity from you.
Mm-hmm.
To have that from the very onset being like going out there, reaching out to people, like getting the work done. Like, let's fill this room. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Well, not to get too sentimental about it, but like I got a second chance at life.
Mm-hmm.
I should be dead. And I'm not interested in wasting it at all. And if that means I have to make a little bit of an idiot of myself or talk with a guy I just met and ask him to come to a show and he says no.
Or come on their dumb, weird podcast.
But I wanted, this is the thing, I told you this yesterday. Like, I'm so much looking more forward to this than like any show I've been on. Like, I love this podcast.
What's your outlook on all this look like?
What do you mean?
What are you looking for? Like you this is it for you, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Like you
Well,
have
hold on. Well, what do you mean by this?
well, like, so stand up.
Right.
You're like, is this your like, oh, this is it? I'm gonna do this. No matter how it looks, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I think I actually did you watch this Steve Martin Apple TV doc?
No, I want to, but I don't have Apple TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you my username and password.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we can watch it. We can watch it after this. But he says something really interesting. Actually, it's funny how similar like watching that was to where I am because he was turning 30 and he was like I was going nowhere in my life, and then he was like, and then I performed at the Ice House. And I was like, oh, this is so cool because the first time I performed at the Ice House, I had almost turned 30, and I was like, oh,
That's so
freaky.
cool.
But anyways, and he said something really interesting in there. He said, that it was always a part of him and whatnot, but the time came where he just needed a change.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about that in context of this question is like, will I be performing stand-up forever? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I think even if I'm not, I will always be a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
And the identity will always be a part of me.
I think that's something you can't shake, dude.
Yeah.
Once you're like this was kind of the story for me. Once I found out what like stand-up comedy was, and once I went on a few couple of times, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is it. This is part of me now, and I'll die one day soon, maybe. Who knows? But like, stand-up is like a part of my life.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. It's a part of me that I can't shake. I'm never not gonna be this.
Yeah. I hear that, and it's obvious when I watch you two, and even just the idea of this podcast. The idea of this podcast is so funny to me because it's like there's no one outside of our scene that would get. I mean, they'd get some of it.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't get like they're probably sitting. If like I'm gonna show this to my friends in Dallas.
Oh, good.
And all around the country. And again, I've lived in 8 cities over the past year, so I'm gonna text people in all of these different cities the link to this podcast.
Hell yeah, dude.
they'll get what I was talking about at the beginning, the alcoholism stuff, and some of them will be like, yeah, I saw this shit.
Yeah.
But what they're not going to understand is like when we're talking about Luke Robert and Eddie Straw and like all of that's like, they're going to be like, what are you talking about here?
That's okay. That's fine.
And
If they want to know more, they can watch their episodes.
Right, that's true. But it's like, I mean, it's obvious with you guys, it's just how passionate you are about this.
When I started stand-up, I realized I was always a comic. I just hadn't done stand-up yet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's because I was always just weird growing up.
Yeah.
I liked all this stuff, but yeah, then once I started stand-up, I was like, oh, I was a comic that never did stand-up yet.
Right.
And now I'm a comic that does stand-up. I'm a comedian now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is just this, and whatever happens, happens. I was talking about this with Luke Robert last night, because I got depression, and it comes in flows. Sometimes I'm like, I'm the greatest fucking human on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm like, I should fucking jump off a bridge.
That sounds like manic depression. That
Right?
sounds like bipolar.
I should jump in front of a train. I should stand in the middle of two trains that ping and hit me, and I fucking get splattered, right?
Yeah.
And but and it comes and goes, and like like I was talking with Luke, I was like, man, I don't know about all this, And he's like, bro, you can't quit. And I was like, I don't know, And he's like, bro, if you quit, I quit. And I was like, fuck, dude. Because sometimes I have those thoughts, not like really, not like I'm actually gonna quit.
Yeah.
And be a plumber.
Right.
But you have those thoughts. You're like, what am I doing? Was this even actually worth it? What am I doing? I'm not going to make it. But then you come out of it, you have a good set, and then you're like, all right, I'm back. I'm going to do it. But I am going to do this until I'm dead.
Yeah. I sense that with both of you, but like I think you and I have had more conversations trying about it. But first of all, if Luke Roberts is genuine about him quitting if you quit, you can never quit. Because Luke is the key that holds all of this together.
He's great.
He's the Ring of Power, dude.
Yeah. He is.
He's the Lord of the Ring, man.
He is Gollum and Smeagol and everything. Yeah.
No, he's great.
So you can't. Yeah. But then also, though, what I'll say is, like, for me, it's reminding myself that this is intrinsically valuable.
Yeah.
It's valuable for its own sake. When I get up on stage and I make people laugh, it doesn't matter what I get out of it externally. And it's so easy to get lost in that. And it's so easy. Like, I hear people say this all the time. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that club again because I've done it. And even though it's a cool venue and it's great and you get a bunch of laughs, what do I get out of it? I'm like, what are you talking about? You get out of it performing there. Yeah. Performing there. I mean, at some of these larger bringers especially, like I hear people say, well, I already did the store through that. I don't want to do the store again.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I would never, ever turn down the store.
Not at all, man.
No, I mean, look, I've done it twice, and it's like, I want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And
so, especially, I mean, the Belly Room has its perk, like, especially the OR. It's just so cool. I think it's like doing a show there, it's like, again, intrinsically valuable.
Uh-huh.
It's like, yeah, maybe a Netflix producer isn't at the back of the 5 p.m. show.
Fuck that. You're at the store.
Yeah.
You're at the store, dude.
Yeah.
Even with the Laugh Factory and the Improv, I'm like,
Right.
I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
Now, the Hollywood Comedy, will I not go there occasionally? Yes. Because maybe
Sounds like you won't ever go there.
I've put my time in at the Hollywood Comedy.
Yeah.
I frequent there. But, yeah, turning down a club spot, sounds outrageous.
Yeah.
Look, I've said this from the beginning. The Jester's Court has always been my favorite.
Yeah.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
I Need This, they're good. You know what my favorite part about I Need This is Nick Titoni. And it's interesting that I bring that up right now. Because I'm actually producing a show with Nick Titoni this month. Can you believe it? Diner After Dark show. This is breaking news. August 23rd.
You know what is amazing in light of our previous conversations? It will probably be a bringer for the first show.
It won't actually.
Not at all?
Not a bringer.
So what happens? What are you guys going to do?
The diner puts flyers on all the tables. They're 7-day-a-week diner. It sells itself.
Amazing.
It's brilliant.
Amazing.
Non-bringer.
Yeah.
Diner After Dark, folks.
Jester's Court, the 25th. I've one more parting thought.
Let's hear it.
If
Sure.
we're leaving. So, do you guys know about Rat Park?
Rap Park?
Rat Park.
Rat
No.
Park, no.
Okay. So there's a science experiment that was done
Okay.
where they put rats alone in cages.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 2 little vials that rats could choose from. One was filled with water and one was filled with cocaine.
Yeah.
And all the rats went to the cocaine when they were alone in the cages. They suckled on the teat of cocaine,
All right.
and they all developed crippling coke addictions and died. Then what they did was they put a bunch of rats in a cage together, and they called it Rat Park, and they had all these different things for the rats to go on together and hang out with each other and stuff.
All right.
And they presented them with the same 2 vials, one with water, one with cocaine. The rats rarely, if ever, went to the cocaine. They just went to the water. The conclusion of this is that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. So when I talk about why I do comedy, when I talk about what attracts me to being in comedy, it is first and foremost the people.
Yeah.
And it is podcasts and groups like this that help keep me sober.
Yep. It's the community.
So I wanted to thank you guys for inviting me on today,
Absolutely, man.
We'll
It was
do
a
it
pleasure
again.
having you.
as it is the foundation of how I built my life now.
No, you're totally right. I imagine doing this alone.
Yeah.
Imagine doing this and going to mics and seeing people hanging out, but you can't really, you're not really in, and you just go home. The show is just a excuse for all of us to get together.
Yeah.
It really feels like that.
We're also bad. We're all so bad at like asking each other to hang out that we need a show.
That's why I can't fucking book shows at clubs. I can't. I'm too embarrassed to ask people to come. But if there's a show going on and I know all y'all are gonna be there, I'm like, I'm there, dude.
Well, in that case, I have some breaking news, I guess, for the pod.
Holy shit.
And in this case, when either Ryan or Hayden decides to do a big 10-person bringer,
Never.
I will be the first person
I'll ask you first.
to buy a ticket
How about that?
for their show.
Thank
Hell
you,
yeah.
Brian.
9 more to go.
Brian, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely,
Episode
sir.
This is fun.
116. Please email the podcast, bombingpodcast@gmail.com, folks, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good shit, y'all.
Yeah.
Killer fucking F. That was great.
I'll be honest, this is my favorite episode of the...
Of course. Definitely my favorite.